I was born in the Murray Mallee. I'm a bit loud, I was born in the Murray Mallee to a third generation of farmers. My parents were considered successful farmers in a very marginal area with an average rainfall of 8 inches per year, so that's only like 300 mils or something in a year. I really didn't enjoy living on a farm. I suffered badly from hay fever and asthma, so the dusty, dry Mallee area with allergies was not a good place to be. Growing up in the 50s, we were very isolated. We were 50 k's from a major town, which was Loxton, and which my parents would only visit every six weeks or so to buy essentials. And because mainly we were self-sustaining, living on the farm, we were never shortage of food. I started primary school at the age of 5. It was a one-teacher school, 28 students, from 1 to 7. Nobody in grade 3, nobody in grade 6, and all of us in one classroom. The bus that we travelled to school in was an Austin Ute. There were 7 of us, and it was canvas covered and with a couple of garden seats tied on, and that was the bus. There was no consideration for occupational health and safety. Someone just pulled you onto the back of a tray, or you just jumped off when you got growing up in the country, I'm referring to the mid-50s. I was born in 1949, if you want to count. There was no mains power, no TV, the supermarket concept was unheard of, and it was just the local grocers or traders that you dealt with. Lighting in the home was Tilly lights, and you were considered very wealthy if you had the sophisticated Aladdin lamps, which you could take from room to room. We eventually progressed to having our own battery power, which was required to start a petrol motor each night to provide light to the home. And then main powers became available, and at long last we could just flick a switch. At 12 years of age, I left home to live with my grandmother to attend secondary school in Loxton. Most kids in the area left school by the time they were 13, because generally they were going to work on their farm, parents' farm, or they had been expelled because they didn't attend school, or that they were too disruptive and invited to leave school. There was no way I was ever going to be a farmer. I'd worked out if I joined a bank, a stock firm, or become a teacher, it was one way of leaving the area with respect. My first job, my father played golf with a local bank manager in a golf carnival here in the city. He arrived home after the weekend and told me, by the way, I've got your job in the local bank. You can start in a couple of weeks. This wasn't really my plan, as I enjoyed school and planned to further my education. There was no negotiation. I just turned 15. I started work in the local Bank of Adelaide, later taken over by the ANZ, and I worked in Loxton for a couple of years, and then was later transferred to Adelaide. At age 19, I was transferred to the Bank of Adelaide Perth office. I stayed in Perth for a couple of years, and by now it was in the early 70s that I decided that I had no commitments in Perth as such, and that I would do the great Australian thing of a working holiday and go to work and live in London for a couple of years. It was a 31-day trip from Adelaide to Southampton, and a shared cabin of 4 people that I had never ever met. That was very interesting. The first job I got within 3 days when I arrived in London. It was in a gin factory, but I only lasted there 3 days because maybe that's why I like gin. Seriously, I managed to get a job at an institution called International Student House, right in the centre of London. It was an exclusive institution providing accommodation for international students who were sent to London by their families, mainly to study. Most of the students came from Pakistan, India and South Africa. The Queen Mother was the patron, and whilst I never ever met her, I did meet the Duke of Edinburgh and the Duke of Gloucester, who were regulars on Sunday night dinner guests. The management were exceedingly kind to me and allowed me time off to travel because I suggested that I was going to resign. They said, why? I said, well, I'm really here on a working holiday. And they said, well, how long do you want to take off? So I said, 6 weeks. That's fine. So my first trip, or my most memorable travel experience, was a 6-week Kentucky tour through Scandinavian countries, then to Leningrad, Moscow, West Berlin, Poland, and returning to London. So that was in 1970, 71. In between working, I travelled through Ireland, UK, Europe in the obligatory combi van that was passed down from Aussie to Aussie. On my return home, after almost 2 years, a travel experience that wouldn't be possible today to be repeated. I caught a plane to Istanbul, unbeknownst to my parents, because they had always said, you make sure that you have a return ticket home. So I cashed that in. and I caught public transport and travelled overland via Turkey, Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan, India, to Bangkok, eventually to Penang, and then arrived in Perth. It was a 10-week adventure. It was very scary at various times. When I see the city of Kabul, on TV, I think it really hasn't changed in 50 years. Returning to South Australia, I worked on a French fruit block for 3 months or so, picking oranges. It was a short-lived experience. When the owner suggested that he thought that I shouldn't really think of a career of picking oranges, I didn't think it was much fun anyway, and I could do better than picking oranges. So it was late 1973 by now, finding a job in Adelaide. Having worked in hospitality in London, I enjoyed the experience and thought this would be something that I'd like to pursue. And I gained an interview with Pierce Matthew Hotel Group and had a long meeting with them. The final answer was, the advice they gave me at the time, at present, the best management training you can gain in this country is as a cadet traineeship in the management, as a cadet trainee in management with Woolworths or Coles. Go ahead, complete the 2 years program and come back and see us and we'll guarantee you a job. And at the time I do realise that it was well recognised, their training programs. I gained the cadetship with Woolworths and completed the 2-year retail management program, and I initially managed small supermarkets. Woolworths provided tremendous ongoing opportunities to formalise management studies within the retail industry in all facets, from management, all facets of the retail industry. I was promoted to the personnel department and later became the state training manager, a position I held for about 4 years. I progressed through the various levels of senior management, and the last store I managed was Tea Tree Plaza Big W. I was responsible for a management team of 10 and 185 staff. When I think about it, it's actually similar to a Rotary Club. 165 staff and what do we got? 14 people on the board. Okay, so it's 19 years on now, and I didn't go back to see Pierce Matthews. Why did I leave Woolworths or that industry? It was the time of the introduction of all-day shopping on Saturdays and Sundays. You'd arrive home at 7 o'clock after a weekend when your friends had all been playing sport or enjoying themselves, or you'd be late meeting them at a restaurant. I was then 40 years of age, and I thought, I'm young enough to look to have another career. And unlike me and the security that I feel in my life, I resigned. Luckily, Rita was working. On a personal note, Rita and I met. We met in Norwood. We were married in 1975, and having both travelled extensively and worked overseas. We've actually worked out that we were in Athens, not that we knew each other, but we were in Athens at a wine festival in 1971 in the same week. Rita was born in the province of Sondrio, northern Italy, a few kilometres north of Lake Como. So it's a very beautiful part of Italy, as many of you know. She is extremely proud of her Italian heritage, and just ask her and she'll tell you. Rita returned to Italy when she was 21 to work for 12 months to better understand her heritage and meet her extended family. She worked for the Commonwealth Public Service for 30 odd years in management roles in the Attorney General's Department, Bankruptcy Court, and finally 10 years in the Family Court. She later worked for audit positions in the financial services industry. As I said at the changeover meeting, conditional to being president is, of course, another trip overseas, isn't it? Okay. And so I can tell you that we're leaving on the 1st of September. We'll visit 2025. We'll spend some time in Italy, then to Lisbon, when we will board a cruise ship for 14 days across the Atlantic to New York. So we will celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary in Nova Scotia. We have been fortunate to have had many trips to Italy and have extended our holidays to holiday travel to travel through Europe, USA and Asia. The next chapter we'll talk about is my own business, or establishing my own business. Furthest from my dream that I would ever work in the insurance industry, a Rotary acquaintance heard that I had resigned. There's quite a Rotary theme that will follow. Within 24 hours of resigning, he contacted me and suggested we arrange a catch-up, the regular sales pitch you would expect from a salesperson. And can I say the rest is history. I started my own company in 1989. After a couple of years, I was invited to join ODV Accountants Mile End to provide financial services to their accounting clients. 2 of the 3 partners were Rotarians, so it was Rotary networking in its true sense. As I've had no formal tertiary study growing up, I've spent a great deal of my adult life studying to further my career opportunities. Commencing a new career and establishing my own company, I needed to undertake further studies within the financial services industry. I attribute my success in running the financial services business, together with being a director and part owner of the accounting firm, to the years of management training and discipline I gained in the time I worked for Woolworths in management. I'm very grateful. I'm not a retailer and I'm not a salesperson, but I consider myself more an administrator. I learned the meaning of management of people, having empathy and understanding of individual needs, particularly when dealing with financial matters. You need to understand a person's most inner concerns to be able to share their life's experience. How are we going? Okay, so the next chapter, I guess, is community service. Rita and I have always been involved in community service organisations from the very time we both started working. I've been a Justice of the Peace for almost 20 odd years, again now having to study. I currently volunteer each Monday in the signing room of the Adelaide City Library, so don't try and contact me on Monday. My Rotary experience didn't get off to a good start. Some of you have already heard this story, but here it goes again. My father and uncle were both long-standing Rotarians. My Uncle was a member of the Edwardstown Club and nominated me for membership of the Campbelltown Club. My application for membership was declined. It was at the time when there was only one classification as a member of the club. If a member currently held that classification, you could only be accepted as an additional active if that person approved. Well, he didn't. The reason my application was declined, he was an executive of Woolworths, and I was considered only to be a manager and not a business owner. My first reaction, well, you can do what I won't, I will actually say. I have got it politely written down here. My uncle said to me then, don't worry, don't get so upset. They're going to form a new club and they'll need new members and they'll contact you. So as the weeks and months went on, the formation of the new club, this new club is of course Moriarty, I received a phone call asking if I would be Sergeant at Arms. And my response was, no way, I'd do anything else. I'd do anything else. I'd be Sergeant at Arms. So, not really realising that I was opening the door, was I? So, would you be President? And I said, that would be better than being Sergeant at Arms. So officially my Rotary journey began in 1984. So basically, here we are 40 years on as a Rotarian. And I was charter member of Moriarty. I have held secretary positions for 15 odd years in clubs and most other board positions over the years. I've been a member of the District Membership Extension Committee. I was the District Governor as representative to for Magill Sunrise, really as a charter member and President of Magill in 2000. I had 10 years term of District Youth Exchange on the committee and 2 years as the District Chair, and also involved with the National Youth Exchange Committee. Over the years, I think that we have had something like 10 exchange students, and can we say, luckily they go home. However, we have maintained contact with a young lady from Canada, which we've been able to visit and now meet her family, and also Carlo, who's been very special to us because we've been able to measure. He's been back from Italy on 2 occasions, and he actually lived with us for nearly 9 months. So there's a couple of very special memories that we have. So what next? That's as we put the centenary behind us. As I said earlier, we will retain the Peace Building Club, and the peace poles, the miniature peace poles, will be available for sale. And also we will continue with the Indigenous Scholarship Program. So there's still a lot more to do to future-proof the Rotary Club of Adelaide. And the first thing I guess we need to do is to reset the current and existing programs after a year of celebrations. We have a planning committee to develop a major project to provide a guaranteed source of income, which may come online over the next 12 to 18 months. The regionalisation pilot will provide different opportunities to interact with local clubs. We have the potential to form a companion club, and a couple of other meeting changes for activities throughout the year. There's something to let you know that what we're planning is that we won't have a President's Weekend, but we'll have 2 other events. On October, November, to be confirmed, we're organising to visit the Gillette Farm at Mount Barker, and it'll be on a Saturday, and then we'll organise either lunch at Mount Barker or Houndoff. It's all dependent on the farm conditions, the weather, and we won't be able to visit the factory, but we can go through the farm. The other event, it will be March, April, again on a Saturday, and thanks to Cam, we will visit the new Cooper's Activity Entertainment Centre, Cam, what's the correct title? Visitor Centre. So So we'll be visiting that. So the intention is that we'll move our Wednesday meetings to those 2 Saturday events. The other idea is that to relax the meetings, I've decided that we're not going to have a spotlight service the first Wednesday of each month, so that we can have a little bit more hospitality, a little bit of congeniality around the tables. Because when we're not having speakers up here, there's a lot of activity happening within the room, and let that continue. Rajiv introduced during his year as president was to revisit all the past presidents of the year. Cam introduced the history snippets helped by Reg and Zing. So my plan is to introduce, do you know your members? So both longer standing members and the newer members. So Tom Maxwell will be hounding you, asking for a bio, a short bio. It doesn't have to be long. I don't really want a page. I just want a minute or so. So I will introduce exactly what we're wanting to do today as I conclude my address. So this person is a regular every Wednesday. He sits over in that table. Where is it? Over there somewhere. No. Where's Colin Haggard? Oh, there he is. Okay. I wanted to introduce him because I don't think many people will know very much about why he joined Rotary and his activities in Rotary and his personal. But this is just an example of what we want to do. Colin was working in the wool and sheepskin business with his father in Maitland when he was approached by the local pastor of the Uniting Church, the Reverend Don Catford, who told him it was about time he joined the local Rotary Club in Maitland. So he did, in 1970. And in 1998, he joined the Rotary Club of Adelaide and was interviewed by our current centenarian member, Jeff Tate. His activities within the Rotary Club of Adelaide, Colin served as Vice President to Bob Giffen in 2003-2004 and had to take over the President's role and responsibilities when Bob's health failed. In this role, he had considerable help from his late wife Mary. Colin is a diamond friend of the Australian Rotary Health Research Foundation. He's put considerable effort into Rotary's projects in the past and now concentrates mainly enjoying fellowship and Wednesday lunches. Thank you, Colin.